The more you focus on what you don't want, it makes it way harder to get what you actually want. For example, if you're trying to lose weight and you keep thinking about, I have to lose weight, I can't eat this, I can't eat that, I can't eat this type of food, and you're focusing on that aspect, it makes it harder to actually choose what you do want and what's actually meant for you. And so that's something that's key. Is so when you're setting out to figure out or to subtract something from your life which you don't want to do anymore, or if you're focusing on something that you want to have, you have to focus on what you actually want. Because focus always exists. We're always focusing on something. And so if we're focusing more on, oh, I'm trying to lose weight, I can't have that candy bar, I can't have that pizza, we're going to get more pulled in to taking that bite of pizza or having that candy bar. Because wherever our attention goes, energy flows. And so that's something you can't run away from. So if you're going through a difficult time and you're focusing on the trials and tribulations, the negative aspect of the situation, it's going to be hard for you to continue on your journey. Because you don't always receive the fruits of your labor instantly. A lot of the times it takes time. Everything has a time frame in which you can harvest from. A baby takes 9 months. These trees take a certain amount of time. Everything takes a certain amount of time. And so if you're focusing on aspects that aren't getting you to where you want to go, it's not going to help you. So instead of focusing on not being able to have that candy bar or that pizza, focus on the good aspects that you can actually have. Oh, I can eat this, really tasty soup, or this nice smoothie, or whatever it is. And this is the same thing that you can apply to any aspect that you're going through. Because whatever you focus on, you give that power. And the more you give something power, the harder it is to leave its grips. And so when you're focusing about that candy bar that you can't have, it's harder to break free from that. And so when you're chartering a new path, you have to focus on where you're going, on what you can do, not what you shouldn't do, but focusing on what you can do. And so it's kind of like, don't think about the pink elephant in the room. And if you tell somebody that, they're going to start to think about a pink elephant. And so our world is just a reflection of our mind. So beliefs that we've once held, and then we've acted upon those beliefs, and then they ultimately showed up. And that's our current situation. And so it's really important what we're keeping in our focus, in our mind. So instead of focusing on getting rid of a trauma or pain, those are two really big problems I work with, is focusing on what key aspects we can actually do to overcome it. And so it's something that's hard at first, but it's such a simple concept that it's just so powerful. Because whatever you focus on just grows. It's impossible that it doesn't. whatever you water grows. All these plants get watered pretty much every day because, it's monsoon season. And so during the season, they just grow so fast. And so if you equivocate the water or the rain to thoughts and awareness in your mind, is, you focus on something and it continues to grow. Because when you first started thinking about a problem or a situation, and it wasn't that big of a deal, but the more that you started to focus on it, it really became a big deal. And that's the thing with this is. It is, we only have set amount of energy that we can use per day. Set amount of awareness that we can use and focus on whatever it is that we want to throughout the day. And that's up to us. But if we're stuck in these aspects, just thinking about these things that we don't want, you'll find yourself doing a lot of these things that you don't want, or don't want to have, or don't want to think about. And so this is why it's super crucial to focus only on what you want. Because it's hard to continue through whatever journey that you're going through if you're focusing on the pitfalls. It's just like this pathway is kind of caved in here. I kind of have to go to this left side. And so if I just focus and I don't even see what's ahead of me, and I just focus on this pitfall, I'm not going to be able to move forward. Because my awareness is just focused on this gap. And so it's like, all right, I can't get to the other side. If we're putting all of our focus, we're not going to be able to see this little pathway here to the left. This is an extreme example, but it's equivalent to what's in our mind. Because we view the world from the lens of our mind. And so if we're problem focused, we're going to see more problems. But if we're solution focused, we're going to look and say, oh, okay, there's a hole. What can I do? All right, I can go up this pathway. I can go back. I can go up. Maybe you can go down from somewhere. But if we're just completely focused on the problem rather than the solution, that's what we're going to see in our world. And so when we focus on the things that we don't want, a lot of times it brings it into our own world, even though we don't want that. And this happens a lot of times in relationships where people, they don't want to lose their significant other. And so they're worried about if they're being too needy or if they're being, too much. And that energy is transferred onto the partner because they always ask, am I being too much? Am I enough? Whatever it may be. And, eventually the partners get tired of that. And so this is something that happens all the time. Any dynamic. And so whatever you're going through, just know you focus on what you can do, and not what you cannot do. Because that's the key. Once you start to focus on the opportunities and the solutions, you're going to start to get what you want. And that's the key. So wherever you're at right now, and if you're up against a barrier, and you're just focused on this barrier that's in front of you, just start to think, what other things am I not seeing? And if I focus instead of this barrier on what I can get from this obstacle, because our biggest obstacles that we have in life are our biggest opportunities. For me, overcoming my anxiety, depression, ADHD, pain was one of the biggest obstacles of my life. Because I faced it for years. And I struggled for years. And so when I finally overcame that, I was able to turn that into a process, into a system in which I could help other people do the same. So just know that the obstacle that you're trying to overcome, if you just focus on what comes after it, what can I benefit from this? And you start to see that vantage point, it starts to become very easy to overcome things. So whatever you're focusing on now, just allow yourself to shift the focus. Because there's things that we consistently think about on a daily basis. And so the more that we continue to think about them, the harder it is to let go of those thought loops. Because we've watered those through our thinking for a long time. If you've had something for a few weeks, few months, few years, this is something that takes time. But just know that it's possible, but it starts through changing your awareness. And so one of the best ways to do that is to change your state, because a lot of people are just trapped in a negative state. And this is a video I talked about before. It was back in April, I believe. It was like an 8-minute video. You know, you don't change your thinking. You don't try to change your thoughts. You try to change your state. And ultimately, if you're in a negative state, your thoughts are more negative. And so if you switch yourself to a positive state, you have more positive thoughts. And so there's that aspect to it as well. But just know that you can change to a positive state, but if you still decide to focus on something, put your awareness on something negative, that's something that you can fall into easily, especially if you have these pre-programmed subconscious loops of thinking. It's easy to fall into that. It's easy to go in and just get stuck when it's just like, oh, I'm feeling good. And then you have some sort of external trigger happen, and then you're back thinking on the same gap that we have here in front of us, rather than the path that lies ahead. And so this is something, if you consistently feel yourself getting trapped into, you try something new, and then you're consistently getting into these pitfalls, just put a little bit of awareness into where and what you're thinking about. Am I thinking about what can go wrong, or am I thinking about what can go right? Because that's something that trapped me in my journey. Because at first, I didn't even try to do what I was doing because I didn't think it was possible. Because I was thinking about the pitfalls. You know, it's going to be impossible to do this. How am I going to make money? How am I going to survive? What does this even look like? How am I going to even do this? And so there's so many key aspects. And so if we get bogged down by these non-possibilities, we're going to get stuck in this frame. And this is going to cause us to lose our balance. And then we're going to fall into something like this, because we're focused on that gap. We're not focused on these other possibilities. So right now, there's something that you can do that'll make everything easier. And a lot of times, it's just changing our own awareness. And so whatever you put the energy on, that's where the energy is going to flow. And so this is something, idea super simple. Sometimes it's a little hard to execute, but it changes everything. And so if you consistently find yourself thinking in a certain way or in a certain manner, you can realize that, oh, I don't have to live like this. I don't have to experience these things. Because if I just change my thinking, change my state, change where I'm putting my awareness, I can get to somewhere new. And so I'm going to take this path here. And that's what I'm going to do. And so I hope everybody has a blessed day, and think about where you're putting your awareness and start to focus on where you can go and where you cannot go. Don't let that where you cannot go be your focus. And you'll start to get to new places. It's inevitable. Peace and love, everyone.